नमस्कार, आदाब। बोल इंडिया में आपका स्वागत है। मैं हूं इरफान। बोल इंडिया में आज है हमारे साथ रिसर्चर, ट्रेनर और एक्टिविस्ट एस आशालता। एस आशालता हैदराबाद में उस्मानिया यूनिवर्सिटी से एमएससी हैं। वो तेलंगाना और आंध्र प्रदेश में 25 से भी ज्यादा वर्षों से जेंडर और लाइवलीहुड के मुद्दों पर काम कर रही हैं। वो ग्रामीण समुदायों, विशेष रूप से कृषि और पशुपालन में महिलाओं के देसी ज्ञान पर रिसर्च और एक्शन में शामिल हैं। उन्हें आदिवासियों, दलितों, पशुपालकों और छोटे और सीमांत किसानों के मुद्दों और आजीविका के संसाधनों पर उनके अधिकार विषय पर काम करने का लंबा अनुभव है। इन विषयों पर वो अखबारों और पत्रिकाओं में नियमित रूप से लेख भी लिखती रहती हैं। एस आचालता ने समकालीन राजनीतिक मुद्दों पर कई पुस्तकों का अनुवाद भी किया है। फिलहाल वो महिला किसान अधिकार मंच यानी मकाम और इसकी नेशनल फैसिलिटेशन टीम रायतु स्वराज्य वेदिका के साथ जुड़ी हुई हैं, जो किसानों के मुद्दों पर काम कर रहा है और साथ ही साथ आंध्र प्रदेश और तेलंगाना में केमिकल फ्री सस्टेनेबल एग्रीकल्चर को बढ़ावा दे रहा है। तो वेलकम टू द शो एस आशालता।
Thank you.
So now tell me first, what are the changes in agriculture policies brought in by Telangana government? And which of these policies has impacted environment and climate crisis?
Yeah, Telangana government has brought in some changes in cropping patterns. Earlier, there used to be a lot of wide variety of crops, like 25 to 30 varieties, but the government has promoted mostly paddy, that is rice, cotton, and recently it has promoted palm oil, these are all water intensive crops. And naturally, the market is also available. The government has provided the market. So farmers have stopped cultivating other crops. So most focus is on few crops. So the diversity of crops has reduced and water intensive usage is increased. And it is detrimental to the environment in the long run.
Do you think government has paid adequate attention to climate crisis when designing the agricultural policies?
I don't think no, because they have been telling that we are providing more water, so you can go for more intensive, water intensive crops. But they have not taken into consideration either climate change or environmental issues while designing the cropping plans.
Now tell me also on the differentiation brought in by government between tenant farmers and farmers. Do you think this differentiation has impacted on cultivation?
Yeah, well, the Telangana government has refused to recognize tenant farmers. They kept saying that they recognize only the farmers who own land. So earlier in 2011, there was an act which was recognizing tenant farmers and giving them some entitlements. But this government refused. So tenant farmers are left to their own and they are facing a lot of economic crisis and they are unable to sustain the agriculture on their own.
If rich farmers were excluded from the scheme of Rayatu Bandhu, do you think more benefit could have been given to small farmers by way of encouragement for organic fertilizer and natural pesticides, indigenous seeds, native species, etc.?
Yeah, every year Telangana government is spending 12,500 crores towards Raitu Bandhu. They give 10,000 rupees per acre. So Telangana, there are 80% of the farmers are small and marginal farmers who own less than 5 acres. So mostly 40% of the money is going to rich farmers. And 5,000 per crop per acre is not sufficient. If you take paddy or cotton per acre, they need 25,000 rupees as investment. So 5,000 is not covering the thing. Like you asked the question, if rich farmers are excluded, more money can be given to poor farmers and they can be really spending more on natural farming practices. Actually, it will help for environmental sustainability also.
And what do you think is impact of free power 24/7 as claimed by government that it is giving on the groundwater sustainability?
See, from 2004 to 2018, there was huge drought. the rainfall was not good. But from 2018 and onwards, the rain is good. So earlier when rain was less, farmers were using more groundwater, so which is depleting the groundwater. But when the rains have come good from last 4 5 years, farmers are going to water intensive crops. So in both ways, free power is not helping the environment actually. For power, we need more power plants also. So there is no reason why the government should give 24 hours power when it's not needed. Half of it is also sufficient for farmers to cultivate the crops.
Do you think Raitu Bandhu has increased cultivation? Is Raitu Bandhu money enough for cultivation? Given that small farmers are more in number, how do you think small farmers financed themselves?
Like I told earlier, Raitu Bandhu money is just 10,000 per acre, which is not sufficient. Per acre, per crop, per season, they need at least 25,000. That is the cost of cultivation. And this small farmers are benefiting whatever less, and rich farmers who own more than 10 acres, they are getting more. So rich farmers, they are not doing the cultivation. They are giving their lands to the lease. So those who are cultivating land are not getting the money, but those who are owning land are getting money. So it might have increased the land area, but the poor farmers have not benefit to this trade. That's what my research says.
In the past decade, do you find any change in use of pesticides, as both manufacturer and the usage of pesticides is related to environment impacts? Do you think government paid adequate attention to this aspect?
The usage of pesticides has been increasing. Now, the recently Agriculture Department announced that in Telangana, every year 4,000 metric tons of pesticide is being used, and the department officials themselves say farmers are using it excess. So, the government has not taken any strict measures to reduce the usage, and they have not imposed any restrictions on the companies who produce pesticides. Pesticides are actually poison. They not only kill the microorganisms, but they can also kill people also. Farmers are consuming pesticide and committing suicides also. So using so much of such a large quantity of pesticides really poisons the soil, the water, and the air. And it is very sad that government has not taken any measures to restrict the usage of poisonous pesticides in Telangana.
Was there adequate active support on organic and natural farming through natural fertilizers?
No, the government till now has not announced any organic farming policy, while the neighboring Andhra Pradesh state has taken up a state level natural farming policy. Here, we don't see any such kind of thing, and chemical fertilizers usage has been increasing on the other side, which is really harmful. Yeah.
What do you think are the health hazards faced by the agricultures who use these chemical-based products, and health hazards for consumers?
Yeah, farmers I'm talking here mostly about the women, because women farmers spend a lot of time in the fields. Men do only a few works like plowing and watering, but women do weeding, harvesting, sowing, everything. They spend months, 3 4 months in a crop. So they are experiencing problems like nausea, headaches, and cancers are also coming. And especially with pesticides, when men spray the pesticides, they're inhaling the pesticides, and there are a lot of accidents which are happening. Farmers are dying. And also studies have told that when you inhale pesticides, you also get psychological issues and suicidal tendencies also. And when it comes to the consumers, eating pesticide sprayed crops like rice and wheat and all, the pesticide residue is being remaining in the body parts, and it is leading to cancers. So it's both detrimental to the farmers and also the consumers.
Is Telangana government opposed to the BT cultivation, and what is the area of cultivation that crops in cultivation under BT? What are the economic repercussions for farmers who used BT variety?
BT, Telangana government has never expressed its what do you say, have never opposed the BT. Recently, BT mustard was also introduced, and actually in Telangana, BT cotton was introduced in 2002. But when Telangana government was formed in 2014, it never took a stand. It just allowed the BT cotton to be continued. And here now the area of BT cotton in Telangana has increased from 25 lakh acres to 45 lakh acres, because government itself has encouraged them, don't go for paddy, go for cotton. So there was no sustainable, continuous or sustainable agriculture plan for crops. And when the national level campaign was happening against BT mustard, Telangana government refused to send a letter even to the central government to opposing it. So there is no particular stand against the BT from Telangana government.
So do you think farmer suicides mostly by farmers who use BT or otherwise?
Yeah. In Telangana, more than 7,000 farmers have committed suicide in the last 9.5 years. And most of them, majority of them are cotton farmers. So in Telangana, cotton is only BT cotton. There is nothing other than BT. So we can have a direct relationship between farmer suicides and BT cotton. And earlier also, the BT cotton cultivation was giving health hazards to animals like sheep and goat or cows who graze on the cotton fields by eating the young leaves and all. So it is not only hazardous to the livestock and also, but also to the soil and also the farmers who are cultivating it, because it is giving them economic loss. So due to economic loss, farmers are committing suicide.
And what are the recommendations of scientists and the people who are busy researching in the BT area regarding the health considerations, health hazards?
Regarding the health hazards, mainly the scientists say that the usage of chemical fertilizers and pesticides has to be reduced, and also crops which are sprayed with more pesticide have to be reduced. Like I said earlier, Telangana used to have some 25 to 30 varieties of crops. Now we can see only 4 or 5 crops like paddy, maize, cotton, chili, and so a variety of pulses, dal, oil seeds, millets, all are slowly disappearing. So what scientists say for environmental sustainability is that farmers should go back to natural farming practices and also diversify the crops. Grow more pulses and more oil seeds and more millets, which are good for the soil also. They enrich the soil, and also this is good food for the people. Because now in Telangana, in Hyderabad especially, diabetes is almost 50% of the people have diabetes. This is because they eat only rice. But if you eat millets and a variety of other crops, diabetes can be controlled. So scientists suggest that farmers should go for a diversified crops, millets and pulses, and decrease like pesticide or chemical fertilizers which are needed for the few crops like cotton or paddy. So that is that ensures environmental balance.
Fair enough. What do you think on the ethanol plants on Telangana? Do you think the voluminous cultivation that is required for ethanol plants is a sustainable approach, either for agriculture or for transport?
In Telangana, more than 5 or 6 ethanol plants have been started, and there's one in Mahbubnagar started functioning also. Actually, ethanol, it needs a lot of water first. For each liter of ethanol to be produced, it needs 8 liters of water and 2.2 kgs of rice or maize or sugarcane. So it is eating away the water which can be used for irrigation for other crops or also for drinking purposes also. So in remote areas where there is already water shortage, setting up ethanol plants really will in the long run will lead to a crisis, water crisis, and also a lot of pollution. The slush or the what do you say, which is released after the ethanol production is being left into the fields or on the roads and open places, and it is causing a lot of pollution. So farmers are protesting wherever ethanol plants have come up. Farmers are protesting, saying that we don't want this. but Telangana government has taken a stand, and even the central government has come up with a policy of biofuel policy. So Telangana's government in 2022 made a declaration that ethanol plants will be useful to reduce the petrol, to mix in the petrol. But environmentally, it is not at all sustainable.
Do you think Telangana government has focused adequately on the alternative crops and less water consuming and more nutri-rich millet cultivation?
Actually, the policy or has not come up at they have not announced. But when we talk to the agriculture department, they say we are encouraging, but it's not happening. See, once a word of comes out from chief minister's mouth, it will create a lot of impact. Like 3 years ago, he said, "Don't cultivate rice, go for cotton," because central government is not purchasing rice. Then again, he said, "No, no, cultivate only Sannabiyam, that is fine rice." So whenever he's doing any statement like that, farmers are following it. So in the same way, if chief minister can come up with a plan and say millets are needed for and to diversify, then maybe farmers will cultivate millets, and they also need to be assured market for that, a good price. If you announce good marketing price for millets, then definitely farmers will go. But that is not happening in the present time. The government has not at all announced any promotion or incentive to grow millets.
What do you think of agriculture allied schemes such as ship rearing, fish seeding distribution? Was the promotion by importing sheep from other states a sustainable approach? Did it benefit the farmers? Was the grazing space available, etc., considered in the design of the scheme?
Yeah, one major scheme which was introduced after Telangana government formed was the sheep distribution. So lakhs of sheep were distributed to the, what do you say, these sheep and goats, great sangams which were there from a long time. But what happening is, like you said, they were purchasing sheep from the neighboring states, and they have this stress of traveling from one place to other, and they'll take some time to habitate in the new place. And in that process, there were many sheep were dying also. And there were a lot of what do you say, mismanagement, and corruption was happening. And they were selling, they were showing that they were selling, giving it to the farmers, but again they were selling it immediately. Because when as a researcher, when I go to the villages and I ask the traditional shepherds, "Did you get a unit of sheep?" They said, "We got, but some of them died and we sold the rest." So it was overall, maybe they have spent a lot of money on it, given the sheep, but bringing it from other states and giving it to them, and they were not sustained, and corrupt because of the corruption also. It has not yielded good. And fisheries, maybe it is yielding some income to the people. But because in the villages, a lot of tanks and all are not used by the people, so fisheries is not that much like useful for general farming. And you said like grazing areas. In Telangana, all the common lands have been occupied and grazing lands are not available. So giving more sheep is also not, shepherds are not able to graze them as there are no grazing lands. So this is the scheme is not matching the reality of the ground reality, where lands are missing, sheep are coming, they are dying. So on the whole, maybe the paper it is looking very good on, but practically it's not yielding so much benefit to the farmers.
Do you think that agriculture policy should be based on climate crisis? What would you have liked to see in the government's approach or policy?
Yes, governments have to take into consideration the climate change, which is happening in a huge way all over the world. And if we just go on preparing our agricultural plans just as we like, and we don't take the climate change or the, because there is huge rainfall in 1 month and there is a prolonged drought for the next month. And sometimes the rainfall which is supposed to come for a month is pouring down in one day. We have seen floods in Hyderabad also 2 years ago. In the same way, in the fields also, crops are getting damaged. Sometimes there are no rains, the crops are getting dried up. So if we don't take this kind of climate change and don't design policies to what do you say, to cope with it or to adapt to the thing, then agriculture is going to be in a real danger, and also our food also. We may not be able to produce our own food because we are going to cotton, we are going to palm oil, and there is no less focus on diverse food crops. Then we may need to buy food grains from. Right now, we are already purchasing vegetables and onions and tomatoes from other states. So in the future, maybe in 5, 10 years, if we don't focus on climate change or environmental sustainability, then we may be forced to depend on other states or other countries for food in Telangana. Yeah.
Do you think projects like Kalleshwaram that involves a series of barrages lifting water and that involves inter-river or inter-basin transfer of waters would be sustainable both from agriculture point of view and from ecological viewpoint?
Yeah, Kaleshwaram has spent more than 1 lakh crores of rupees, and this is mostly lift irrigation project, not the what is a gravity flow project. So for lift irrigation, we need huge power, and for power generation, again we have to set up power plants or purchase power from other states, which will tax the budget of the state on one way, and lifting water and pouring into other reservoirs is against the nature. Actually, you can do when it is needed at most. But in Telangana, the agriculture has been rain-fed and dryland agriculture. So we don't, when you just provide irrigation for everywhere, the cropping pattern is changing and the environmental sustainability is also changing. And linking rivers is a really very damaging and very harmful thing, because we are diverting the whole courses of the rivers, and it may lead to floods. And when the reservoirs are like, they are constructed on a very high level, and if there is some breach, it may cause floods or drowning of the villagers also. So on the whole, with small irrigation projects are welcome, but huge projects like, and that too lift irrigation projects which need lot of power, are not at all sustainable. And earlier we used to have a nice chain of tanks in each village. So that can be restored instead of going for huge and large projects like Kaleshwaram.
So at the end of this conversation, since the elections are just fortnight away, what are your expectations or what are your suggestions to the new government?
See, if the present government comes back to power, we cannot say anything because they are hell-bent on, they are supporting their own schemes and policies of either irrigation or agriculture. They don't see the ground reality, what farmers are. But if any new government is coming, other than the ruling government, actually, I would like to appeal to them that they should go for a environmentally sustainable agriculture policy or an irrigation policy, or first take into consideration the climate change which is happening, the rainfall, erratic rainfalls, and the soil fertility which is reducing because of the fertilizers and pesticides. Should bring back what the diverse 30-40 diverse crops which were used to be cultivated in Telangana, and also chemical free. They should come up with an organic farming policy which will reduce the chemical fertilizers and pesticides. And the budget should be allocated for natural farming practices and for millets and pulses and all, which will impact the soil and the 3.5 crores people of Telangana who can have healthy food. So this is what I would like to say for a new government which is coming.
So now, thank you very much. Thank you, S. Ashalata, for sparing your precious time and enlightening us on agriculture, ecology, environment, and other developmental issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
बोल इंडिया में आज थी हमारे साथ रिसर्चर, ट्रेनर और एक्टिविस्ट एस आशालता। प्रोग्राम आपको कैसा लगा, आप हमें यहाँ नीचे कमेंट बॉक्स में लिखकर बता सकते हैं, और इस प्रोग्राम को अपने दोस्तों के साथ, अपने परिचितों के साथ शेयर कर सकते हैं। मिलेंगे अगले इंटरव्यू में, अगली बातचीत में। बोल इंडिया देखते रहिए।